Hello YouTube, this is SFG here, and in this video I am bringing you a deck profile on the Saiyan Broly for the Dragon Ball Z Panini TCG. Now, before I get into the details about the deck profile, I just want to mention that Broly has always been one of my favorite Dragon Ball Z characters. You know, I remember watching the first Broly movie when I was in high school, and ever since then I just love the character. I know that Broly is not really a character that, has a lot of character development in him, and he was just like in the Dragon Ball Z movie where he made his first appearance, and, he's just typically known as just a big powerhouse, super strong type of person, but I just always been fascinated by the character since I was in high school, and now since in 2019 or 18 when they brought out the Broly movie, and I was excited that he finally got to become canon and part of the Dragon Ball Z universe. And I've been a fan of the character for a long time, so why not have I believe this is my first Dragon Ball Z Panini TCG deck profile, but I could be wrong about that, so don't hold me to it. But yeah, I wanted to just talk about one of my favorite decks, the Saiyan Broly. And what this deck typically does is it's a deck that, it's a very aggressive deck that you want to just try to vanish your opponent's, or not vanish, but you want to try to, I guess deplete is the better word, to deplete your opponent's life deck and try to, kill him as fast as possible. So we have a lot of cards that raise our anger to try to get us to level 4 to try to deal the max damage. And since we are using the Saiyan Empowered Mastery in this deck profile, we get to level up really fast to try to use all of our cards to deal damage to our opponent as fast as we can. Now, I also want to mention too that the Saiyan Empowered Mastery is kind of banned on the competitive field. So if I was going to play this deck competitively in some kind of sanctioned event, I would use the Saiyan Dynamic Mastery instead in place of this. But normally I just play casually with my friends, so they don't care that I use the Saiyan Empowered Mastery. But so what I'm going to do in this video, I think, is I'm going to talk about all the cards in the deck, and then I'm going to reveal like some of the combos that we kind of use in the deck as well that help us, just become stronger and more powerful. But yeah, so if you guys if you want to see more Dragon Ball Z content, on the channel, make sure to give me a like on this video and leave a comment as well. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so by clicking on the subscribe button below. And with that, let's just kind of go in the details of the deck. Okay, so like I mentioned, we use the Saiyan Empowered Mastery, and what this does is you cannot win by MPPV. Your Saiyan style attacks gain Raise Your Anger 1, hit, gain 3 stages. Whenever you rejuvenate a Saiyan card, Raise Your Anger 1. So we use this mastery because we want to try to, when you raise your anger up the level, when you have 5 anger, you go to your next personality. So that's why this mastery is really good, because you'll see later in the deck profile that we just have a bunch of cards that raise our anger, so we can get to level 4 pretty fast with this deck. But yeah, that's the Saiyan Empowered Mastery. And so for our main personality, we run the level 1 Broly Survivor, the level 2 Broly Determined, the level 3 Broly Legendary, and the level 4 Broly Relentless. Our level 1 personality has a continuous effect. After your opponent advances a level, your opponent's main personality loses 5 stages. It also has a power, which is a physical attack. You get to raise your anger 1. You may reveal 2 attack cards from your hand to banish the top card of your opponent's life deck, and the damage is 4 stages. Our level 2 Broly has a continuous effect. After your opponent's main personality advances a level, your opponent's main personality loses 7 stages. Physical attacks performed by this personality deal 2 stages of damage. And it also has a power, banish the top card of your opponent's life deck. You may reveal 2 attack cards from your hand to banish a setup or drill. Our level 3 Broly has an effect that after your opponent's main personality advances a level, all of your opponent's personalities lose 7 stages. Physical attacks performed by this personality deal +3 stages of damage. And it also has a physical attack power, which you may reveal 2 attack cards from your hand to draw a card, and the damage is 4 stages. The level 4 Broly has a continuous effect. Your opponents cannot use endurance. Physical attacks performed by this personality deal plus 4 stages of damage, and their damage is banished. In addition to that, it has a power: banish the top 2 cards of your opponent's life deck. You may reveal 4 attack cards from your hand to banish any amount of setups, drills, and allies. For our energy combat attack cards, we run 3 copies of Saiyan Tantrum, 1 copy of Saiyan Tracking Blast, and 2 copies of Broly's Eraser Cannon. Saiyan Tantrum has an effect that if this card is revealed from your hand, you may use a critical damage effect. It's an energy attack that costs 2 stages. The damage is 6 life cards and has a hit ability which is Rejuvenate 3. Saiyan Tracking Blast is an energy attack that costs 3 stages. Attach this card to your main personality. While attached, your opponent's effects cannot lower your MP personality level. Banish this card after your opponent uses an effect that would lower your main personality a level. And it's an energy attack for 5 life cards of damage. Broly's Eraser Cannon banishes a setup, drill, or ally, and you raise your anger 1. The damage is 5 stages, and its hit effect is banish a setup, drill, or ally. Continue on with the physical combat attack cards. We run 3 copies of Pulverize, 3 copies of Broly's Face Crusher, 2 copies of Wall Breaker, and 2 copies I'll Dig Your Grave. Pulverize is a physical attack that deals attack table plus 3 stages. Banish 2 cards from your opponent's discard pile. At the end of combat, search your life deck for a physical combat or an energy combat attack card and place it on the top of your life deck. Broly's Face Crusher is damage from this attack cannot be modified. Reveal the top 3 cards of your life deck. You may place a styled physical attack card revealed into your hand. Place the remaining cards on the bottom of your life deck in any order. The damage is attack table life cards, and the hit effect is Rage or Anger 2, and you banish it after use. Wall Breaker is a physical attack with damage attack table plus 1 stage. Attached to your opponent's main personality. While attached, your opponent cannot gain anger, and you banish this card when your opponent deals critical damage. I'll Dig Your Grave is you cannot win by a most powerful personality victory if you advance a personality with this card. Physical attack damage is 6 stages. Damage from your attacks cannot be prevented this combat. The hit effect is you may advance your main personality 1 level. If you do, advance your opponent's main personality 1 level. Continuing with the physical combat attack cards, we have 3 copies of Saiyan Grab, 2 copies of Saiyan Backbreaker, 2 copies of Saiyan Sword Strike, and 3 copies of Saiyan Spin Kick. Saiyan Grab is a villains only, banish after use, physical attack, damage, AT stages. If this personality performing this attack has a higher power level than the defending personality, this attack cannot be stopped, and its hit effect is draw a card. Saiyan Backbreaker, villains only, banish after use, physical attack, damage, AT plus 1. You may shuffle an attached card in play into its owner's life deck. If you do, this attack stays in play to be used a second time this combat. Saiyan Sword Strike. If your opponent has passed in his last action, this attack cannot be stopped and its damage cannot be prevented. Damage is AT plus 4 stages. Saiyan Spin Kick. Physical attack, raise your anger 1 level. Lower your opponent's anger 1 level. Destroy an ally. Damage AT plus 3 stages. Concluding our physical combat attack cards, we have 3 copies of Saiyan Severing Punch, 3 copies of Saiyan Elbow Drop, 3 copies of Saiyan Gut Kick, and 3 copies of Saiyan Face Strike. Saiyan Severing Punch is a physical attack. Until the end of your next turn, your opponent cannot gain more than 1 anger from each card effect. Damage AT plus 4 stages. Hit effect. Until the end of your next turn, your opponent cannot use effects that advance or lower an MP 1 or more levels. Saiyan Elbow Drop, banish after use, physical attack costing 1 stage, attack table plus 3 stages. This attack stays in play to be used a second time this combat. Saiyan Gut Kick, physical attack, your opponent skips his next action this combat, damage AT plus 4 stages. Saiyan Face Strike, physical attack, raise your anger 2 levels. If this attack is stopped, draw a card, damage AT stages. Hit effect, lower your anger 2 levels. For our physical combat defense cards, we run 3 copies of Saiyan Arm Catch, 2 copies of Saiyan Flip, and 3 copies of Saiyan Hand Swipe. Saiyan Arm Catch stops a physical attack and raises your anger 1 level. Saiyan Flip, this card's endurance is considered to be 4 for your card effects. Stops a physical attack attached to your main personality. While attached, attack table damage is considered to be 4 for all physical attacks. Saiyan Hand Swipe stops an energy attack. The next attack you perform this combat deals +3 life cards of damage. For our event cards, we run 3 copies of Saiyan Outrage, 2 copies of Enhanced Reflexes, 1 copy of Time as a Warrior's Tool. Saiyan Outrage, banish after use. Power stops a physical or energy attack if the defending personality has a higher power level than the attacking personality. Then at the end of the combat, you may search your life deck for a card that can attach to your main personality and place it into play attached. Enhanced Reflexes, limit 2 per deck, stops a physical or energy attack. If that attack was a name card, it deals no damage and is banished after use. Banish the top card of your life deck, banish after use. Time as a Warrior's 2, limit 1 per deck. Power stops a physical or energy attack, stops all of your opponent's attacks this combat. Continuing with the event cards, we have 2 copies of Unleash, 1 copy of Saiyan Rescue, and 2 copies of Villainous Energy Sphere. Unleash, you cannot win by MPP if you use this card. Power, search your life deck for a card that can attach to your main personality and place it into play attached. Advance or lower your main personality up to X, where X is the number of cards attached to your main personality. If your opponent cannot win by MPBB, destroy any number of cards attached to your main personality. Lower your opponent's main personality level equal to the number of cards destroyed this way. And I also want to mention that there was an errata on this card that you're supposed to banish it after use, so just wanted to point that out as well. Saiyan Rescue, you may only have 1 Saiyan Rescue attached. Power, attached to your main personality, rejuvenate 1. Continuous effect, once per turn as an action, choose a card in your discard pile and rejuvenate it. Villainous Energy Sphere, villains only. Power, used when an event is played. Cancel the effects of that card. Your opponent destroys the top card of his life deck. For our setup cards, we run 1 copy of Tree of Might. You may only have 1 Tree of Might attached. Power, attached to your main personality. While attached, your attacks deal +2 stages of damage. While attached, both players may search their life deck for a freestyle drill and place it into play when entering combat. Banish this card when you control a styled drill. Okay, so since we kind of went over what all the cards do in the deck, we're going to talk about some of the combos that make the deck pretty strong and can just, make it so that we can beat our opponent fast. And one of the combos that I'd like to talk about first is with Saiyan Outrage, the event card that we mentioned. So when we play this effect, Broly has a high power level already, and as he advances to his other levels, the highest that he can maybe get to is on his level 4 personality at full power. He can be 3 million. But even if you can't go that high, let's say your level 3 Broly goes to like 2 million, or even if your level 2 Broly is at his highest power level at 1,200,000, and we play Saiyan Outrage, well, if we have a higher power level than our opponent when we use this card, we can search for any card that attaches. So the targets in the deck are Saiyan Rescue, Saiyan Flip, Tree of Might, and the energy attack card that attaches. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Oh, Saiyan Tracking Blast, that's it. So we can search any one of those cards when we use Saiyan Outrage, and 9 times out of 10, I usually go for Tree of Might because, since we have a lot of physical attack cards in this deck, we want to make sure to, get our opponent below 0 and try to hit them for as much damage as possible. So Tree of Might is really good for that strategy. And then also Saiyan Flip is a card that we normally get out because the attack table, there may be a point where we're just stuck at 0, or we're playing like maybe a deck that's similar to this one, and if we attach Saiyan Flip, that's just an automatic 4 stages of damage on the attack table. Doesn't matter if we're at 0 or if we're full powered, but it's not really good to attach with if, you know, we have a high power level through a majority of the game. So it still stops a physical attack, so it's still decent. So that's why I play 2 copies of that one. And then another card that we can get with Saiyan Outrage is we can get Saiyan Rescue. And once it's attached, we can choose a card in our discard pile and rejuvenate it. So with our mastery effect, whenever we rejuvenate a Saiyan style card, we gain 1 anger. So that's just another way for us to gain more anger so that we can, you know, level up faster. And because as I mentioned before, once you hit 5 anger, you go to your next personality. So if we're at 5 anger and we're on our level 1 personality, we go to level 2. So it's just a fast way to, you know, get us up on our main personality, higher level. And then also, I don't really use Saiyan Outrage to get Saiyan Tracking Blast, because Saiyan Tracking Blast, I mean, it could be relevant in a deck where they're focused on lowering your main personality a level. But, you know, maybe I've used this once or twice before, but it could still be kind of helpful. And, you know, just nice that it saves us 1 turn for, you know, not having to go down 1 level. So that's why but it's not really great for the most part. So that is the reason why I only run 1 copy of that. Okay, so the number 1 card that hurts this deck, and it actually happens to be a card that we play in the deck as well, is Wall Breaker. And when Wall Breaker is attached, like, let's say our opponent plays a Wall Breaker and attaches it to our personality, well, we can't gain any anger. And anger is very important into this deck that we have. And if our opponent plays a Wall Breaker and we have 1 attached, we have to deal critical damage to them in order to get it off. But in the event we can't do it for some reason, we do also have the Saiyan Backbreaker physical combat attack card. And what we can do is when we play this, we can actually shuffle their Wall Breaker back into their deck, and we are able to, you know, play this attack twice for the combat. So that's why I run Saiyan Backbreaker in there, is to help, you know, get rid of those Wall Breakers that are attached to us. So I may have used it maybe like a few times when I played, you know, several games of it, and yeah, it's just useful for that reason. Okay, another combo that I want to talk about too is with Saiyan Tantrum. And as I mentioned before when going through all the cards, it has an ability. If this card is revealed from your hand, you may use a critical damage effect. So when we have a lot of, like, as you heard when we were talking about our main personalities, they all kind of have effects where if you reveal cards, you know, you get something. For an example, the level 1 Broly has the ability that you may reveal 2 attack cards from your hand to banish the top card of your opponent's life deck. So let's say, for an example, we reveal 2 attack cards, and one of them being Saiyan Tantrum. Well, we can use a critical damage effect to either lower their anger 1, discard 1 of their allies, or capture 1 of their Dragon Balls. So Saiyan Tantrum is one of the very few energy attacks that we run in the deck. And it's because, you know, that effect of revealing it and dealing critical damage could be really helpful. Also, the hit effect, if we perform the actual energy attack, is Rejuvenate 3. And if the top 3 cards of our deck are Saiyan cards and we rejuvenate them by putting them under our life deck, that's 3 anger we can get. That will, you know, faster way to advance our main personality, so that, you know, like I said, we just try to, you know, smash their face as fast as possible, and Saiyan Tantrum definitely helps with that. So right now, I just want to talk about Saiyan Face Strike, and it has an ability that as soon as we perform it, we raise our anger 2 levels, but with our mastery, we raise it 3 levels instead, because we raise it with 1 whenever we perform a Saiyan style attack. So if, let's say for an example, we are at 2 anger, right? And we perform this attack, and so we raise our total 3, 2 from the actual card itself, and 1 from the mastery. Well, we've advanced the personality at this point. So now if we hit, we lower our anger 2 levels, but if our anger is at 0 from after leveling up, well, it doesn't really matter anymore. So I really like using this card only because, you know, it has the potential to raise us, you know, 3 anger levels so that we can go to our next personality and just start, you know, performing more damage. So that's why I like to run this card. Also, one thing that I forgot to mention when I was talking about the cards earlier was we do have a lot of cards that have what's called endurance, and pretty much endurance is whenever we take damage, we can banish that card to prevent one of that damage. So for an example, if we are taking 5 life cards of damage and we happen to reveal, say when we're taking damage, we happen to reveal Saiyan Severing Punch. We take the 1 damage from that, but then we can banish it to prevent 2 damage. So then we would only be taking an additional of 2 extra life cards. So the deck does have about, I think, like 20 or 21 cards with endurance. And we definitely want to play a deck with a lot of endurance cards because it's good to, like, just to help prevent life cards of damage. If anybody who's played the game knows that one of the ways you can lose the game is if you run out of cards in your deck. And then we have a lot of cards that also, just those endurance cards help us from our opponent not pretty much killing us, essentially. So that's why we have a lot of endurance cards, and obviously our biggest endurance card is the Broly Face Crusher card, which has 10 endurance, which, that's kind of a lot to have in a deck. So yeah, I just wanted to make that, wanted to mention that really quickly because I forgot to do it. And also, the other thing I want to mention is Saiyan Hand Swipe actually stops an energy attack, but it is a physical combat defense card. And I don't know if that was just a misprint or if it was purposely done that to try to, change the mechanics up a little bit. So that concludes the deck profile. So if you guys have any changes you would like to make to the deck, make sure to leave them in the comments of this video. And also, what are some of your favorite Dragon Ball Z Panini TCG decks that you like to play? I also know that I played a lot of red decks back in the day, like a red Master Roshi, a red Turles. And I don't know if you guys have some that are better, but yeah, feel free to leave a comment. And, if you guys want to leave a comment on the feedback of the videos and see if, maybe if you like a different style, because I know a lot of deck profile videos on YouTube, they usually just have a camera and they show you the physical cards. So I don't know if you guys would like that better, or if it's better to, do deck profiles with like the graphics, like the way I've been doing them for this and the Versus System videos. So yeah, any feedback is greatly appreciated, and we hope you enjoyed this deck profile, and we'll see you next time.